A lot of people think that the tax deadline is the finish line. Well, I'm here to tell you with my 36 years of experience that for plenty taxpayers, the expensive mistake actually begins the week after April 15th. That is when people assume the extension solved everything, forgot to make a payment, ignore an IRS notice, which are in great supply these days. They send out a ton of them. Or just toss that confirmation number somewhere where you never will find it again. Confirmation of an e-file. Tax day may pass, but the consequences keep moving. So welcome back to MX3.VIP. I'm Michael Wright. On that end of the table is Jason Wright. And today we're talking about the real filing mistakes to avoid after deadline week in 2026. This is one of those episodes that it's not flashy, but it can save you a lot of money if you listen and view our YouTube channel. If you filed late, filed an extension, you still owe money, and you know your return went under a cloud of stress and guesswork as you filed it, this conversation's for you, because after April 15th, the smartest move is not pretending it's all over. The smartest move is to clean up your issues. Now, for those of you who were able to meet the tax deadline, here is the biggest mistake. And the biggest mistake is failing to verify that your return was actually accepted. E-filing is efficient, but it is not magic. Returns can be rejected for mismatched Social Security numbers. Now, this is a big deal. The IRS is getting more rigid on the name exactly as it is on the Social Security card, and of course the Social Security number matching up. Duplicate dependent claims. For those of you who have been divorced or was entitled to claim a dependent and someone else already claimed that dependent, your return will be rejected. And unless you're checking it, if you did it online through a TurboTax or someone like that, or through a tax professional such as us or anyone else that you may use, you need to be making sure that your tax return was accepted by the Internal Revenue Service. Wrong birth dates now are a big deal. Banking errors, because as we now understand, and we did not know this when tax season started, none of us, the taxpayers, the tax preparers, nobody, that now your refund, if you don't give an account number for a direct deposit, it will come on a credit card, Jason, from the Internal Revenue Service.
That's how the state of Oklahoma has been doing for some time, and I do not like it.
Yep, and I am aware of what the state of Oklahoma has been doing, and I think there's other states that have been doing it as well. Typically, those state refunds are of a small amount because there's not child tax credit, there's not earned income credit. Your state income tax is much lower than your federal income tax. The refund at a tax level is typically much lower, and of course, in states like Texas, there isn't a state income tax. Your refunds in the federal level are much greater. And you get back a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 refund, and it comes on a credit card. It really hinders your purchasing power with that particular credit card, let alone the fact that you'd rather have the money in your bank. Maybe you were going to go stick some in retirement. I don't know if the brokerage houses of the world take credit cards. I don't think that they do. Maybe there is a way to get it off that credit card, but I do not like the fact that this is what the IRS have done. But if somebody submits a return and then never checks whether it was accepted, they may think they handled the problem when in fact the tax return is still sitting in limbo. Okay, so you go in and you go into e-file and your return gets rejected. You have now filed late if you did not file an extension. The IRS does not look at it as their fault on incorrect names, incorrect Social Security numbers, incorrect date of birth, the fact that someone else claimed the child that you were entitled to, the dependent for that matter, that you were entitled to claim. So you just need to be aware of this. This is especially dangerous for last-minute filers because there's very little cushion for error. You filed in February and you waited 2 weeks to go check, no big deal, because now you can go back and correct it. But acceptance matters. Confirmation numbers matter. And the next mistake after that is not keeping proof. I know that sounds simple, but after all these years, I can tell you a huge amount of stress comes down to weak record keeping. Not only after a tax return is prepared, but throughout the year. Record keeping 101. You've got to keep your records. You keep your records, you have no issues. The IRS wants to come and look at your return. Yes, it is a hassle to have to put all that in order for them to understand it and get that to them, especially due to the fact that most of your audits these days are done through the mail. But if you have the records, that's the main thing you need, because if you can prove your numbers, you are golden. Even though you will have to go through the harassment, it's not harassment, the inconvenience of having to go through and prove out your numbers. So if your memory is terrible, like a lot of people, documentation of your return and documentation of your e-file is very, very important. And Jason, I can't tell you how many people come into my office and they have filed their taxes in the past. They have an issue with their tax return. They want us to help them, and they cannot find a copy of it. And then they go back because they filed it online. They filed it themselves. That is the number one deal is they file their taxes on their own, and then there's issues. A big deal is the 1095A, which is the health marketplace. Most people don't know you got to go print off that 1095A where it's the subsidy, and it has to be on your return. That is the biggest rejection outside of normal information such as name, address, name, social security number, date of birth. But nevertheless, you have to keep up with your records. You need a copy of your tax return. The statute of limitations in this particular day is 36 months. They have 36 months to audit the return. You have 36 months to amend the return. And amending is just as important, if not more important, than the auditing process, because you may have forgotten something, good or bad. And the purpose of an amendment, the purpose of an audit, is to get the tax return correct. So if you have forgotten something, even to your benefit, you need to file an amended return. And you have 36 months from the date you filed your return to be able to do this. So, the fact that you have now filed an extension does not keep you from having to make an estimated tax payment with your refund. With your extension. You should have made a payment at that time to definitely reduce what you may owe whenever you do actually file your taxes. Your personal taxes on April 15th, you file the extension. They're now not due until October 15th. But that is the filing of the return. The payment is not forgiven till October the 15th. So if you owe money and you did not pay in on your extension, the meter is running with interest, compound daily at the Internal Revenue Service, the Internal Revenue Service level. So believing that an extension has resolved your payment problems is a big no-no. And the IRS says it's painly, and it is painly because I see it a lot of times. An extension is an automatic extension of time to file. They no longer have to be accepted. See, back 25 years ago, Jason, you filed an extension on April 15th. It got you till August 15th. That was automatic. Then if you want to go to August to October, you had to file another extension. That was not automatic. It had to be accepted. You had to have a good, reasonable cause for not filing your tax return by August 15th. Now it's automatic. So nevertheless, you need to make sure that if you owe money, and even if you filed an extension and you did not send in, you need to go in and make a payment right now. You need to build your account on the IRS website so that you can pay directly online. Even though here we are a week plus later, go in and make a payment if you feel that you're going to owe money. And the failure to pay penalty generally adds 0.5% of unpaid tax for each month that you have an outstanding balance. And it can go up to 25%. So if you fail to file, you got then the failure to file penalty, which generates 5% per month. So failure to file, is the second one. Failure to pay is the big one. Make sure that you are on top of both of these things. Your other big mistake is avoiding IRS notices. Now, in our office, you can be sitting here doing a tax return. You can be doing a payroll. You can be doing a monthly set of books. You can be doing a lot of things. But when an IRS notice comes in, it can't wait. It takes priority over everything else because the notice is always a disaster if you don't address it. Very simply can be done. Very simple process. But if you do not address it, you will be in big trouble because notices go unnoticed. They go unanswered. The computer then generates a second notice when they see no activity. So this is another big tidbit. You get your notice and it says you have until May 31st to respond. And you just received it the 1st of May. You need to get a response back in the mail to the IRS as soon as possible. Because when you send it on the date it's due, all right, think about how long it's going to take a human being to receive that mail at the Internal Revenue Service and process that mail. They are way, way behind on processing their mail. So when the IRS computer sees no activity, it automatically generates another letter. When the response is in the Internal Revenue Service office and sitting somewhere to be processed, but the computer doesn't know that. And this stuff is automatically generated. And when you get that certified mail, most people are not real happy about that taking place. But you have to answer notices, and you have to answer notices immediately. Always communicate with the Internal Revenue Service with certified mail return receipt. You need to be able to prove that you did send the mail. And that is a big, big thing. No matter what happens from that point forward, you have your proof that you did respond. And it may take you 6 to 9 months to get it all straightened out and a lot of grief, but at least you have your proof. And we have learned this the hard way. And that was roughly 15 years ago. Jason, I have a file cabinet, one particular set of nothing but the green cards that get returned from the Internal Revenue Service, going all the way back to 2012. And I don't throw them away. You never know when you're going to need them.
Right.
And you have to have them because the proof, you would think this. I go down to the post office, which is governed by the government. And they then carry that piece of mail to the Internal Revenue Service, which is governed by the government. You would think all that would add up. But the IRS says they didn't get it and it's not their fault. The Postal Service says we delivered it, it's not their fault. Blah, blah, blah. Once again, your obligations are not over when you e-file. Your obligations are not over when you put it in the mailbox. It is incredible how the proof is on you. And anybody that thinks that you are innocent till proven guilty is very, very naive. You are guilty till proven innocent, especially at the Internal Revenue Service level. And if you don't think so, please go down. Let's start that chat up right now. Give us some comments down there on the bottom of that YouTube. I'd love to hear it. And of course, always can contact me through email. So at info@mx3.vip. So today, confirm your status right now. Check whether the return was accepted, whether the payment was posted, whether any refund is moving. So we have a website for that too. You can go out there and check on your refund. Where's my refund? Go check it out. See what's going on. If you owe, stop waiting for a better emotional moment. Pay what you can now, then review whether an IRS online payment plan makes sense. Pay as much as you possibly can. The smaller balance today is a better day tomorrow. Gather every tax season document into one permanent folder. Get all your stuff that says 2025. The return, the extensions, the payment confirmations, the W-2s, the 1099s, the K-1s, the notices, the correspondence. For sure, if you mailed it in, the green card. And go back to your tax preparer and ask for a confirmation of where that e-file was accepted. This will create a better situation for you later on down the road. So schedule a 30 minutes to review all of your stuff. Make sure that now if you owed money in 2025, you have estimated tax payments that are going to be due in 2026 for your 2026 tax return. Obviously, the April 15th was the first extension. It was also the first time to make an estimated tax payment for your 2026 taxes. So tax season does not end when the calendar flips, and the ends when loose ends are handled and tied up. Make sure your 2025 tax business is behind you by doing these simple things, and it will save you a lot of time and a lot of grief later on down the road. You can always find our content at mx3.vip on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/@mx3 podcast. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified of all of our new content, which comes out every Monday and Thursday morning, every Monday and Thursday afternoon at Jason's discretion, obviously. So for everyone who's been a part of this show, continue to live your life the right way.